welcome to the Business Critical Linux Keynote. My name is Markus Noga. I'm the General Manager of Linux here at SUSE, and I'm proud and honored to be here today with you in what is the 30th anniversary of SUSE and the 22nd anniversary of Enterprise Linux by SUSE, which just proves that, as Marty McFly said in Back to the Future, if you can put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. But these days, it actually seems hard to put our mind to anything because we live in a world full of disruptions on an unprecedented scale. Of the many CIOs, CTOs, and leading architects that I spoke with over the past couple of months, one thing is certain: everybody is facing a talent shortage. 74% of companies can't get the talent, can't get the skills, can't get the people they need to fulfill their mission. And 63 of them have been hit by supply chain attacks over the past 12 months, often not just once, but 2 or 3 or even 4 times hit by software supply chain security incidents. So it's actually hard to keep improving the way IT serves the business and to keep improving IT operations, which is another key imperative because all those disruptions are keeping us from doing business. This is why SUSE is looking to deliver to you innovation without disruption. I'm proud to introduce the new SUSE Linux Enterprise 15 Service Pack 4 today, which comes disruption-free as a technical upgrade. That's right, no expensive migration projects required. SUSE Linux Enterprise 15 SP4 innovates on capabilities, on platforms, and on lifecycle. Let me walk you through some of the most important things. In the capabilities space, we're proud to be enhancing our supply chain security so that security incidents become a threat of the past. We're proud to be expanding the array of confidential compute capabilities so that you can bring your most confidential, your most sensitive workloads to the cloud with confidence. We're proud to be increasing the resilience of the system by bringing live patching also to key libraries in user land, meaning your applications can stay up even as you patch security vulnerabilities. We're glad to be bringing the most secure device onboarding standard with FIDO SDO to Linux, and we're proud to be expanding the array of Copilot capabilities that are in Trento for SAP applications to help manage and run your applications with confidence. Last but not least, we're significantly expanding the array of base container images so that you can bring workloads and programming languages into a containerized environment with ease. On the platform side, I'm excited that we're innovating on all cloud hyperscalers, whether that's with Graviton instances on Amazon Web Services, with the hybrid benefit on Microsoft Azure, or with high performance capabilities on Google Compute Platform. I'm also tremendously excited about our work with silicon vendors and silicon providers like AMD on 7th generation EPYC, ARM on their version 8.7 instruction set, Intel 12th generation chipset support, and virtual GPU as well as Bluefield DPU support for NVIDIA, where we're also one of the first Linuxes in bringing the new open-sourced NVIDIA GPU driver to our distribution. In that space, we're also working very closely with hardware vendors, whether that's Dell, Fujitsu, HPE, or IBM, on unlocking the latest and greatest capabilities of their device lines for you. Last but not least, innovating without disruption also means a life cycle that you can trust. SUSE Linux Enterprise delivers 10 years in general support from 2018 to 2028. We're committed here and now to deliver also a Service Pack 5, a Service Pack 6, and a Service Pack 7 for SLE 15 so that you can be confident of your SUSE Linux Enterprise with additional long-term support options that stretch beyond 2031 with reactive support. Let's look at some of these in depth, and I'm going to start out with our work on supply chain security. SUSE has been working on a secure supply chain for a long time now because we believe in resilience, reliability, and the ability to secure the foundations, our product, and the supply chain that your product relies on. In an open source world, supply chain security really matters. SUSE is doing three things here. We're securing the foundations, we're securing the product, and we're securing the supply chain itself. We've been FIPS certified for cryptography for a long time, and we also hold disasstig hardening guides, both as best practices and as code, so that you can harden your systems at the click of a button. SUSE is also the only enterprise Linux with a common criteria EAL 4+ assurance level. This means that you can be confident our software isn't just tested or structurally tested or reviewed. It is that SUSE is going beyond methodical design, test, and review to ensure the operating system is something that you can trust. And then new this year, Google also introduced a novel standard for securing the supply chain that looks at how assets get built, how versions get controlled, how long sources are retained, how we're able to isolate builds and rebuild things when you as the customer need them. I'm very proud that SUSE is the first enterprise Linux that's able to deliver packages under the demanding SALSA Level 4 supply chain standard with SLES 15 Service Pack 4. So let's talk with our partners at Google about what SALSA means and what this means for customers.
Hey, Mark, you're one of the founders of SALSA at Google. Tell us a little about yourself.
Hi, Marcus. I'm happy to be here. So I lead the software supply chain security group internally at Google. And I also, as you mentioned, am one of the founders of the public SALSA effort, which is a way of describing supply chain security as an open specification.
Fantastic. So tell us a little more about supply chain security. What is this about and why does it matter to customers today?
Supply chain security generally means understanding and minimizing risk throughout software development lifecycle. That's for all software your organization depends on, including first and third-party software, and addressing both internal and external threats. Concretely, the two major areas that most people talk about when they talk about supply chain security is integrity, which is protection against tampering or unauthorized modification of software, and vulnerability management, which is protection against exploitable vulnerabilities in the code itself. Importantly, that includes vulnerabilities in transitive dependencies of the software, not just like the main software itself. The reason why this matters to customers is that this is an area that attackers are latching onto. Supply chain attacks are on the rise and they're becoming more and more prominent. You may have heard of SolarWinds or Log4j. Those are maybe two of the most prominent examples of supply chain threats. But a recent example that happened just a few days ago, there was a Python package called CTX that was compromised because the domain name associated with the account on the Python package index had lapsed. So the attacker hijacked the domain name and uploaded a malicious version that harvested cloud credentials. That type of attack actually, unfortunately, happens quite regularly these days. And if it happens to any software that your organization uses, then your organization could be compromised.
Yeah, Mark, I think that's an extremely common concerns for 2/3 of CIOs. No? Supply chain attacks and supply chain compromises are sort of top of their list for cybersecurity. Tell us a little about how your work on SALSA and SALSA itself as a standard is now improving the security of software supply chains across the industry.
Thanks. Yeah. So SALSA, or SLSA, or supply chain levels for software artifacts, is a framework for describing and improving software supply chain security. And currently it's focused mostly on integrity, that's protection against tampering. It's developed as part of the Open Source Security Foundation, which is an open group that anyone can join and contribute to. And again, it's inspired by what we internally have been done at Google for almost about 10 years now. The way SALSA helps with security is that it organizes the integrity problem into a series of 4 increasing levels that describe how well protected a particular software is against supply chain attacks. Level 1 is meant to be easy to adopt, but has kind of minimal security guarantees, while the highest level, level 4, protects against a lot stronger attacks, but consequently takes much more effort to adopt. The benefit of this type of approach is that it breaks the problem into manageable pieces, and it's particularly important for large organizations or large distributions, so SUSE, where you want to make and track incremental progress. The gist of SALSA 4, the highest level, is that each step in the supply chain builds with a locked down, secure service and generates provenance that says exactly how the artifact was produced. In this way, consumers of the artifact have confidence that they know where the software came from and that it hasn't been tampered with anywhere along the way. Coming back to the Python example that I mentioned from before, in that particular case, SALSA could have helped because the attacker who compromised the credentials to upload to the Python package index would not have had credentials to edit the source code, and therefore would not have been able to tamper with it because there's kind of strong cryptographic signing at every step along the way. I think you had mentioned in a previous conversation that SUSE had kind of adopted this framework based on what it had been doing over the years before. Could you tell us more about that?
Absolutely, Mark. So we were really impressed by the SALSA framework because it formalizes the different layers and the different steps towards supply chain hardening that have been around at SUSE already for a long time. Things like having a build service that's able to programmatically deliver builds for us and for up to 70 partners and customers have been in place for a decade. Things like being able to build hermetically without network access or tampering, or being able to build reproducibly, modulo certain technicalities like timestamps, have been in place for a long time. So when we saw this great formalization of the different security levels along the supply chain, we felt it was natural to fill out the remaining gaps, like generating provenance files in the SALSA format, or providing the right kind of artifact repository and repository access. So I'm proud to say that as of SUSE Linux Enterprise 15SP4, we're able to generate and produce packages up to and including a SALSA level 4. And I want to thank you for providing a guiding light for software supply chain security efforts with that paper you co-wrote with your colleague last year.
Great, thanks. It's wonderful to see this type of security getting more and more interest in the community, especially the open source community. Were there any more security news that you had?
Oh, absolutely. Security is one of the major themes for SUSECON this year. Mark, thank you for joining us. I want to go look at confidential computing with another exciting partner next.
Great, thank you so much.
So staying with the security theme, let's look at confidential computing. There's a couple of layers to this, data at rest, data in transit, and very new data in actual use. SUSE as an OS has supported data at rest encryption for your SSDs, your volumes, and your partitions for a long time. And we've also secured data in transit between machines or between data centers and networks with zero trust network encryption for quite a while now. What's new with SLE 15 is that you can also protect data that is actually in use in main memory or in CPU registers that get dumped to main memory when a context changes. With confidential computing for cloud, SUSE, AMD, and Google Cloud are giving you the ability to safely process sensitive data on cloud with the confidence that it's going to be protected against attacks from the outside or from within. And the best, this requires no changes at all to your workload or code, delivering innovation without disruption. Let's talk with Brent Hollingsworth from AMD about what this technology means for you. So joining us from Austin, Texas is Brent Hollingsworth, Director of Epic Software Ecosystem over at AMD. Welcome, Brent.
Thank you so much, Marcus. It's great to be with you today.
My pleasure. So Brent, some people in security say with a tongue-in-cheek that no cloud can ever be secure. How's AMD changing the game on that?
Yeah, very interesting question. So for a long time, we have worked on virtualization technology. And at the first level, it's kind of true. So virtualization has grown very organically over time. And as we look for opportunities to improve it, the security has been obvious that that needs to be addressed in a new and better way. And so at AMD, we have been developing a roadmap of technologies that help us to provide encryption to workloads that are operating inside shared hosting, which gives us the ability to offer both confidentiality and integrity protection for workloads in the cloud and in shared hosting, and in other cases where you're going to use virtualization to separate individual users.
That is exciting, Brent. How have AMD and SUSE innovated on this together?
So SUSE was involved very, very early on with the work that we did, both in the Linux upstream and inside the distribution. And in fact, the very first operating system with full support for both SEV guest and SEV host was SLES 15. And so SUSE has been critical in both the upstream development and the Linux portions, and KVM and QEMU and libvirt, and many of these different pieces that were required in order to get support entirely available. We've been so grateful for the work that SUSE has done here and for the leadership that you have shown to help us bring this to market.
Now you're making me blush, Brent. Let's turn it to customers. What does this mean for our joint customers in terms of workloads that they're maybe looking to bring to the cloud, or workloads that simply were not addressable for cloud environments before, Brent?
Yeah, traditionally, there are a large number of workloads that we wouldn't dare ever put into share hosting. Things like financial services, healthcare industry, defense contracts, defense spending. These sort of workloads were just never considered appropriate for something that's in a shared hosting environment. And with the abilities of encryption, integrity protection, confidentiality, we could start to address some of those workloads in a way that was never before possible.
I'm excited that we're unlocking these possibilities for our joint customers together. Thank you, Brent.
Thank you so much. Wonderful to be here with you today.
My pleasure. And we have more good news on security and resilience upcoming with live patching. So traditionally, IT departments face a hard trade-off. They could either be very secure by being patched all the time, but then they're taking downtimes. Or they could be very available for business, but then not particularly secure. With live patching, that trade-off is gone, and you can be resilient, secure, and available at the same time. SUSE has supported live patching for the kernel for a couple years now. What's new with 15 Service Pack 4 is that we're enabling live patching also for the most critical libraries that your applications use. So when the crypto library OpenSSL or the standard C library have a vulnerability, we can replace them and you can be secure without having to take an application downtime. And your own libraries and applications can benefit from this too, because we've made the framework for user space live patching open source and available to your development teams as well. Let's look at a demonstration on how live patching for user libraries works in practice, which my colleague, Wojtek Pawlik, has created for us today.
Let me show you how cool user space live patching, now available for SUSE Linux Enterprise 15 SP4 is. On the screen you can see two windows. One is a SUSE Manager view of a SLES 15 SP4 system, and the other is live video streamed from that very system. Now SUSE Manager shows us that there is a critical security patch available for the system. Diving into it, we can see it is for OpenSSL, a library that is used by many processes that we all would need to restart. The CVE that this patch fixes is a rather serious one, so we should apply the patch without delay. And now, we can do it without restarts and without disruption. The audit tool shows that our system is vulnerable, and we see the patch there. Looking at the packages updated shows that the fix is a live patch, and we will apply it right away since live patches do not disturb running processes. The patch applies quickly, and we can confirm that the patch has been completed in the SUSE Manager scheduler. Now we can rerun our CVE audit to see the system is not vulnerable anymore and our video has not skipped a beat.
Thank you, Wojtek. That was amazing. So as you know, SUSE Linux Enterprise is a family, and the youngest member of that family is called SLE Micro, now available in version 5.2. SLE Micro was developed and optimized to host containers in VMs with a small minimal attack surface operating system. We've also made SLE Micro an immutable operating system, giving you that added resilience to local interference. And we've given SLE Micro transactional updates so that when you upgrade hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of devices in edge locations or in branches, you can be confident that these upgrades will work and will not require expensive service technicians in the field. What's new with SLE Micro this year is that we're putting out SLE Micro for Rancher, the secure and minimal container host for your Rancher worker nodes. And this is additional value included with your Rancher subscription so that you can get started on a highly secure, highly resilient green stack right away for all your container needs. On the technology side, SUSE has continued to innovate together with Intel and Dell and the FIDO Alliance to bring simpler and stronger authentication into SLE Micro with a new capability called FIDO device onboarding that enables you to bring edge devices into a trusted environment with minimal interference and very flexible late binding. FIDO device authentication is a technology that's very exciting for everyone using fleets of devices in many, many locations at the same time. For this, let's have a chat with Dell to better understand what device onboarding means in practice.
So I'm excited to have Dell Technologies CTO for the EMEA region with us today. Mark, a warm welcome to SUSECON.
Thank you, Markus. I'm absolutely delighted to be here, and thank you for having me.
Pleasure's mutual. Mark, why does secure device onboarding matter so much to your customers?
It does matter, and a great question, and a much bigger and wider question, I think, Markus, than one might think. For me, I think it takes in three key domains, or at least areas that we need to look at. There's industry, there's technology, and then there's the question around security itself and trust. So yeah, I think this particular topic matters more now than it ever has with the emergence of new technology and new technology domains. There's, I think, only a handful of years ago, I guess, things were very different in many ways and far easier to handle with device management and security. So when we look at the data center and the CISO and SOC of a decade ago, things were still difficult, of course, but we had pretty well-defined standards and a very well-established and successful way, I guess, of handling devices and device services and how these are actually secured. Now, though, I think things are a little bit different. Things have changed and are continuing to change. The responsibility and capability of these approaches and standards are long outdated, and we're looking at frameworks and modifications at an industry level now for well over a decade, and we've modified our frameworks and approach, and long since done so, to secure device onboarding methods for the modern era. And this is where, of course, authentication of authorized users are protected now by multiple factors, and done so in a safe and secure and in an easy way to use.
Absolutely. I think what you're saying in terms of the new vectors, the enhanced attack surface that edge deployments offer, and just the general rise in cyber, that does mean secure onboarding matters a ton. So Mark, help our audience understand, you worked on FIDO specifically for device onboarding. Why did you choose that particular standard, and what makes it stronger and more attractive than others?
Yeah, well, there's the big ticket problem, to be honest, Markus, and the truth is that the world, I guess, has a password problem and has done for some time, and we all know this. We see it with the escalating phishing and breaches, and these vulnerabilities is why FIDO really is right here, right now. So FIDO, it's the standard where almost all relevant organizations, from governments to industry and organizations in industry, right through to the National Institute of Standards Technologies themselves, they're all aligned to FIDO using public key cryptography to solve for current and hopefully future authentication problems.
Yeah.
So for us here at Dell, I think FIDO needs to work, and it needs to work better than all of the other authentication options that we've used in the past. So pins and passwords, OPTs, and things like this. And it absolutely has to be secure. So it needs to be more usable, number one, and it needs to be fast, accurate, and address these vulnerabilities that I talk about: phishing attacks, breach, and reuse of credentials, and so on. So in the past, from an authentication perspective, we've tend to trade in secrets. So, the floor here is that by using a token or something of that nature, we move toward a posture whereby we can kind of say, well, if I have the secret, then I can use the secret, whether you're an authenticated user or actually whether you're a threat actor. So we can now use FIDO Authenticator to, using innovation like biometrics. So I can look at it, I can touch it, I can speak to it, and so forth. So we get a much better level of usability. So that's the first aspect, and of why it's a key focus for us. And then the second one is actually the security perspective itself. So we now get this through what the authentication does between itself and the online service. So using public key cryptography that I mentioned earlier on, the device in this instance authenticates itself with an online service. So the private key is on the device and protected by the device, and the public key is actually, it's on a compute node somewhere in a cloud or on another platform. Oh, and by the way, we also recommend FIDO, as we're, like SUSE, we're a member of the FIDO Alliance, as I mentioned earlier before.
And I happen to have a FIDO tool key in my computer as we speak. So, Mark, why has Dell chosen to work with SUSE on this demanding capability then?
Yeah, well, Dell and SUSE go back a long, long way, Marcus. We've co-innovated and built go-to-market solutions for everything, I guess, from compute technology, analytics, cloud platforms, for nearing the last 20 years now. So our partnership is pretty stellar and pretty well understood at an industry level, and we believe to be one of the strongest and essential partnerships, to be quite frank, in the technology industry. So that's the first point. Also, SUSE yourselves are heavily invested in the FIDO client, as you just mentioned there a few moments ago, and like Dell, is also focusing on developing for IoT and Edge, which I genuinely think is the area we really need to focus for.
Mark, thank you. I'm totally proud and privileged to be working with Dell on behalf of SUSE. And I'm excited to build out these and additional new capabilities to help make the edge to data center to cloud story come true seamlessly and simply for our joint customers. With that, thank you for joining us today at SUSECON. And I would like to share additional exciting capabilities from one of our Silicon partners.
So after these exciting news on device onboarding, let's come back to the core of silicon providers. NVIDIA rocked the open source world last month by announcing that they are open sourcing the drivers for their GPU accelerator cards. I'm honored that NVIDIA is working with SUSE to bring this benefit to customers. We have a guest from NVIDIA on for now.
So joining us from Santa Clara, California is Yuan Cao, NVIDIA's Senior Director of GPU Software. Yuan, welcome to SUSECON.
Thank you, Marcus. We're very excited to be here.
And so am I. NVIDIA has really rocked the open source world this year with your announcement to open source the GPU kernel driver modules. What is this about?
We have published the Linux GPU kernel module as open source with dual GPL and MIT license. You can find them today on GitHub. Many people at NVIDIA have worked very hard over the years to make this possible. We took the step because we believe this will greatly improve the Linux user experience on NVIDIA GPUs and benefit the community. We're very excited about this transition, and we look forward for deeper dialogue with partners and community.
Yuan, so are we. SUSE is proud to be a launch partner for this. And what does it mean for our joint customers now, for partners for the extended open source communities and GPU communities?
With this step, we have paved the path for tighter integration with the operating system, closer collaboration with developers, and better experience for the end users. Leading Linux distros such as SUSE can integrate our module for an improved out-of-box experience that is more streamlined and configurable for enterprise deployment. Developers can debug issues with better visibility, trace into the kernel level, have deeper collaborations with NVIDIA, and thus achieving faster turnaround time. End users will also see improved quality because of the source code release and broader feedback from the community.
That must have been a piece of work. How did NVIDIA prepare for this?
Well, we have taken the time not only to prepare for the open source release, but also to refactor our code, resulting in reduced attack surface. This, when coupled with IOMMU, will result in hardened system against attack. The broader review at the code level will also generate earlier feedback that can improve vulnerability discovery, boosting NVIDIA's PCER program. With the availability of source code, this will allow the partners such as SUSE to conduct security review, sign the module, enable secure boot, which will provide better protection for users and enterprises.
Fantastic. No, we are all about security. This is one of the major themes for SUSECON, and we will take this code to build in our trusted build chain. From hermetic build to repeatability to sort of archiving, code signing end to end, and a seamless integration into the secure boot environment.
And Markus, how does SUSE bring this to customers and make it easy?
Great question, Yuan. We're making this part of our solid driver program, which allows for seamless integration into customer deployments so that they never have to worry about drivers and versioning again. Instead, they can fully focus on their AI, machine learning, simulation, robotics, and other advanced use cases and the value that they can realize on NVIDIA hardware and a SUSE software stack. With that, thank you for joining us here at SUSECON, Yuan. I would love to switch over and now talk with one of our customers who happens to sell GPUs and a broader assortment of electronics.
Wow, what a firework of innovation. Let's now turn our mental eye to how customers use this in their business to drive benefits. I've met with Electronic Partner at their premises. Matthias, thank you for having me at the Electronic Partner headquarters today.
Markus, welcome to Düsseldorf.
Always a pleasure. Can you tell our audience a little about what Electronic Partner does every day?
Electronic Partner is a retail company. We are spread over Europe and we have different sales lines. With the Medimax brand, we have EP Doppelpumps, that's a bit smaller stores, and we have ComTeam, the technology network.
That's quite a range in a very exciting industry that has been hit by unprecedented demand side and supply side shocks in the pandemic. As anyone who tried to buy a graphics card can probably tell, what's it been like for Electronic Partner?
To be honest, it was really difficult for us because we had less customers in the stores, what was quite a challenge for us. And we also had problems in the supply chains because the goods we sell to our customers are not available.
I understand you had a bit of a stroke of luck with having a new ERP system on top of SUSE Linux Enterprise already running a year before the pandemic, right?
Yes, right before the pandemic, we started with our SAP S/4HANA system. So in 2019, we started a system conversion and we finished this right in front of the pandemic times.
And we like to think that SUSE Linux Enterprise for SAP gives you all the tools to run your system in the best possible way with SAPtune, SAPconfig, and live patching to remain up even in the face of cyber threats. Is that the case? What's your experience with the product?
It was an interesting challenge for us because we came from IBM hardware, IBM operating systems, and for us it was a new way to run SAP on a Linux operating system. So train the sub-basis team to know the challenges of this operating system and get to know about the difficulties and so on. So war was really interesting. Nevertheless, the system with SUSE Linux proved to be as stable as the IBM environment been.
Great, very glad to hear that, Matthias. And many CIOs today struggle finding the right staff and the right talent. So knowledge intensity is a question that every CIO faces today. Have you heard of SUSE's project Trento already?
No, never heard about this.
So Trento takes tens of thousands of words of best practice descriptions and turns them into a coded asset that can help ensure your system is configured, set up, and secured in the best possible way at the click of a button. How does that sound?
Sounds really interesting. We should look for a project for this.
Look forward to doing that together, and maybe you can also help me find that PlayStation 5 that I've been looking for so long.
Oh, this should be easy. You just go to medimax.de and have a look.
Dears, I'll do just that. Once again, thank you for having me here in Düsseldorf.
You're welcome.
So let's take a closer look at Trento as your co-pilot for SAP infrastructure on Linux, because Matthias is not the only one who's so excited about that. Trento can automatically discover your SAP system's clusters and landscapes, and Trento will then check them and safeguard them so that high availability works when you need it most. Trento can monitor your setups across the cloud and on premises, and the best thing, Trento is available now for all for SAP subscribers. Check out our GitHub and the SUSE.com page for more details. And for more details on how to run SAP on on Microsoft Azure, I'm now honored to have a guest from Microsoft Azure with us today.
So joining us now from Redmond is Hiran Shah of Microsoft Azure. Hiran, a warm welcome. What do you do at Microsoft?
Thank you, Marcus. I'm very excited to join you in this conversation. I lead the products team focused on SAP on Azure. My team delivers SAP certified infrastructure solutions like VM, storage, and network, as well as a growing set of services provided in the form of a software platform to deploy and manage SAP workloads.
And those workloads are absolutely business critical for our joint customers. Hiran, can you share a little how Microsoft and SUSE partner to provide a great experience for them?
Absolutely, Marcus. As you know, SAP workloads power critical business functions like finance, order processing, supply chain, HR. Downtime of any sort, whether it's for plant maintenance or for unplanned interruptions, it can cause business disruptions, lost productivity, and even revenue loss. And you mentioned, Marcus, about the staffing shortages businesses face right now and the need to optimize IT operations and need to automate. This is where what our customers need is for the hyperscaler and system provider to come together and provide solutions for SAP workloads that are highly available, highly performant, but provided in a way that's very easy to set up and easy to maintain and service. And this is exactly what Microsoft and SUSE have been doing, collaborating and co-developing in many areas together to give a great customer experience. I'll just name a few of them. The first and foremost is our co-development on the high availability cluster solution with SUSE's pacemaker solution, and collaborating on the reference architecture and configuration guides. And as you mentioned, Marcus, it is about kind of automating to sort of make it easier for customers to configuring these solutions. So this is where Microsoft and SUSE have been co-developing, providing open source automated solutions to deploy infrastructure and then configure all the pieces of the SUSE system, like the pacemaker cluster. And one more area that's very critical is we have a lot of customers that we deliver solutions to jointly. Many of them are Fortune 500, really large customers as well. And as you know, Marcus, during operations, you may deploy with the best practice, but configurations drift over time. And this is where we've been learning from our customer engagements together and turning it into automation to help them flag drift from configurations and validate that the configuration is still according to best practices. So those are some areas that we've been working very closely together and co-developing innovative solutions.
Thank you. So it really is from the deployment over the management, the monitoring, and then remediation. And I'm convinced that both of us will continue to invest in improving these capabilities further. Now, if you look at some of the new announcements coming in this keynote, Hiran, what are some things when you think about the future of our collaboration and even greater value that we can provide to customers together?
Absolutely, Marcus. I was very excited to look at some of the new announcements, specifically with live patching and Trento. Let's talk about live patching. We can apply the same principle of sort of making it super easy to set up and maintain. So we can collaborate to make enabling live patching super seamless for our customers from the get-go. And this is an area of co-development for us. With respect to Trento, we've been watching some of the announcements that have come up. We believe it's a great solution that provides a lot of great telemetry and insights. We've been building a lot of services to help customers manage and monitor their workloads. And this is where we believe some of the insights that are in Trento can surface even more seamlessly for our customers in some of the solutions. So that is another area of co-development, Marcus, as you know, we are exploring, and I'm very excited about these opportunities.
Thank you. I share this excitement, Hiran, and I believe that together we can make SAP on SUSE on Azure even better value and even better business for our customers. Thank you for joining the keynote and for sharing your thoughts. Up next, we'll be talking with one of our financial services customers for whom large landscapes availability and the ability to time transactions to the microsecond are actually business critical.
Those were exciting news for the cloud. Let's now put it all together with a customer conversation on how SUSE is driving value in financial services, one of the most demanding industries of all. Let's talk with Deutsche Bank.
So joining us today from London is Peter Nutt of Deutsche Bank. Peter, tell us a little about yourself.
Marcus, thank you. So I am Peter Nutt. I am the Global Unix Engineering Manager. I'm a Deutsche Bank cloud engineer and also a global enterprise engineer. So I have been with Deutsche Bank for 10 years and previously worked for Bank of Tokyo Mitsubishi, JP Morgan, and IBM. At Deutsche, I manage a global team of engineers and am responsible for the engineering, configuration, packaging, ensuring operating system images are secure, both on-premise and in Google space, and certification of general purpose compute hardware.
Wow, that is a wide range of responsibilities. And I understand that Deutsche Bank also has some uniquely wide business opportunities and challenges right now. Help our audience understand a little about the business environment that you're facing.
So, Marcus, that's a great question. Thank you. Yes, Deutsche Bank is a large environment, and we have evolved for many years. So we have very complex environments, but we also have complex challenges, and these are to manage our physical infrastructure and ensure that environments are secure and usable whilst managing hardware and operating system life cycles. Moving to public cloud and partnering with Google has accelerated our transition away from a full on-premise environment, and this will enable us to use data more intelligently and provide a flexible and safe environment for us to quickly deliver new products and services. This is the blueprint for bringing together the relative strengths within banking and technology for the benefit of our clients, a challenge and a big opportunity as well. So we use SLES for some of our high performance, low latency environments. And this is a constantly evolving landscape where microsecond gains are important. With all these opportunities, attraction of top talent is also important for Deutsche Bank and will drive our innovation and the next generation of cloud-based financial services.
Fantastic. High speed, low latency sounds exciting. How does SUSE help you address these and other challenges in your IT operations, Peter?
So we work very closely with SUSE. I'll talk a little bit later about that relationship. But with all the work we are doing, it brings new ways of working. Site reliability engineering ensures that we have a stable and robust environment for our customers, both internal and external. And as mentioned earlier, attraction and retention of talent is critical for Deutsche, and this will drive our engineering culture, which will make sure we transform the bank's technology presence. Reduction of human-driven activities is also critical to reduce toil, and automation is key here. The use of automated CI/CD test pipelines, self-healing, and environmental observability is essential for the foundations of our compute infrastructure. With regards to observability, this covers hardware, hypervisors, the operating system, and includes the application space itself. In fact, the whole ecosystem. So yeah, a few challenges we have.
Outstanding. In terms of technology and product capabilities, service levels, how's SUSE helping you deal with these opportunities and challenges then, Peter?
So SUSE is an approved vendor in Deutsche Bank, and we work in a very close partnership to deliver what our clients need for performance, security, and stability. And this partnership way of working means I can rely on SUSE to deliver timely updates, support whenever it's needed. As I said before, some of our critical environments run on SLES, and we have to provide our customers with security tooling to manage vulnerabilities, support services, and also guidance when I'm looking for a way to do something which follows perhaps best practices. So we're looking for additional work and partnering moving forwards to share roadmaps and capability briefings. This will ensure that we are aligned and provide what the bank needs when it needs it.
Peter, we are committed to giving you exactly that, and you are not alone in looking for wider roadmaps and longer partnership perspectives. Sometimes this is also about the individuals. I think you wanted to thank somebody in today's session as well.
Indeed. Thank you for the opportunity. So premium partnership with SUSE helps us leverage SUSE skills and make sure we match our requirements with the right solutions from SUSE. It ensures we follow best practices and align, as I said before, our technology roadmaps. Roger, Keith, and Justin ensure our relationship is both proactive and supportive. This is really important to me, and the support I get is currently just what we need. As mentioned earlier, migration to public cloud is strategic for the bank, and understanding best practices for security, image build, site reliability engineering, and other areas means it's a win-win for all. So live patching is something I'm really interested in. At the moment, it's disruptive. If I can do it without disruption, even better. Data security is critical, so encryption is also in this space, and I know you're working in that area. And also, we're trying to deliver dynamic consumption of operating system in images, so it's basically on-demand consumption. And I believe there's also some synergy there with what you're up to. So I'm also exploring SUSE tooling to deliver enhanced automation for operating system packaging and delivery, which will help our automation even further. So thank you.
Thank you for joining us today, Peter. It's always a pleasure connecting with Deutsche Bank and your group.
Good to be here. Thank you.
And with that, let's look at one more thing, how a next generation Linux operating system can address many of the needs Peter and other customers are raising on a day-to-day basis.
So that's what customers can experience with SUSE today. And that's what the innovation without disruption in SLE 15 Service Pack 4 looks like. But this wouldn't be SUSECON if we didn't have one more thing. SUSE is working on a Linux operating system on demand that will deliver unparalleled ease of use with zero-touch self-managed operations and a self-tuning, self-optimizing core. This OS on demand will deliver unparalleled automation by default, making your DevOps, DevSecOps, and GitOps as productive as they can be. And we're making that available cloud first, edge first, but data center optimized, so truly available anywhere, built around the small core that is SLE Micro today. We will deliver this with unparalleled trust, the supply chain security of SUSE 4 and common criteria that you know and trust, and ultra-long support life cycles for your embedded product needs. And we're enabling this to be centric around your workloads and your data, building on SUSE-based container images and enabling you to produce adoptable images of your own as first-class citizens. That's what operating system on demand is all about. And we as SUSE are committed to give you a first glimpse with a beta before the calendar year is out. So with that, let's look at the far future. Doc Brown from Back to the Future said, where we're going, we don't need roads because the future is whatever we make it. So we need to make sure it is a good one. And in closing, I would like to remind us all that the world is not just about software or applications. I'd like to echo Melissa's invitation for the Share the Meal Challenge. Together, we can support the United Nations World Food Programme to deliver 30,000 meals or more to victims of war in Ukraine. And that's as easy as taking out your smartphone or browser, following the QR code on screen, and with a few taps, and for less than €1, you can provide a meal to someone in need. Thank you. Thank you for joining SUSECON. Enjoy the show, enjoy the deep dive sessions. It's been a pleasure to be your host for the Business Critical Linux Keynote.